Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Spring 2019 Commencement and Hooding Ceremony of the University of Memphis Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law. Before we begin, please take a moment to turn off or silence your cell phones. Would you now please stand for the playing of the National Anthem sung by our very own graduating students, Charles Argana, Mary Caitlet Cornett, Scott Marston, and Paige Smith.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to this momentous event, an event that acknowledges and celebrates several years of very hard work by the 88 graduating students who are here to receive their academic hood, having completed the requirements of the Juris Doctor degree. While we have much to celebrate, today is a bittersweet occasion for all of us, as one degree will be awarded posthumously to Richard Urban. Richard was a beloved member of the class of 2019. Richard's family is with us today and will accept his posthumous degree and health law certificate at the end of our hooding ceremony later this evening. Let's observe a moment of silence in honor of Richard. Today's graduates also include 4 students who are completing the requirement for the dual JD MBA degree and 1 student who is concurrently completing the requirements for the MPH degree. Additionally, there are 6 students receiving certificates in advocacy, 2 receiving a certificate in business law, 3 receiving certificates in health law, and 4 receiving certificates in tax. We are privileged to have with us on the stage today several very distinguished university and law school officials, as well as several special guests. Each of these individuals will play an active role in today's ceremony. I have the great honor to recognize Dr. David Rudd, who will confer the degrees upon our graduates on behalf of the University of Memphis, Honorable Pamela L. Reeves, United States District Chief Judge for the Eastern District of Tennessee, who will be our commencement speaker, Associate Dean Jody Wilson, who will assist us with hooding, Professor Ralph Bradsher, Professor of the Year, who will also assist with hooding. The President of the Law School Student Bar Association, Lauren Hutton, and the class speaker, Matthew Bradsher. I would also like to recognize Assistant Dean for Admissions, Recruiting, and Scholarships, Dr. Sue Ann McClellan, and Josie Holland, our Public Interest Counselor, who are serving as co-marshals in today's ceremony. We appreciate their participation in today's commencement exercise. Many members of our distinguished law faculty are also here to celebrate the milestone in the lives and careers of these students. I would like to recognize them. I will ask each faculty member to stand when I call your name and to remain standing until all faculty members have been introduced. Elena Allen, Linda Black, Ralph Brazier, Demetria Frank, Donna Harkness, Deshaun Harris, Regina Hillman, D.R. Jones, Carrie Curley, Daniel Keel, Bill Kratzky, Barbara Krachevsky, Ernie Lidge, Andrew McClurg, John Newman, Katie Ramsey, David Romance, Danny Shafson, and Kevin Smith. I would now like to introduce Mr. John Babango, a distinguished alumni of our law school and a member of the Ferris Babango Law Firm, who will present the Ferris Babango Faculty Scholarship Award. John, can you please join me? The Ferris Babango Faculty Scholarship Award was established in 2011 through the generosity of John's law firm, Ferris Babango PLC. The award honors outstanding faculty scholarship, and the recipient is selected by the dean in consultation with Ferris Babango. This year's winner of the Ferris Babango Faculty Scholarship Award is Professor Elena Allen for her article, Rape Messaging, published in the 87 Fordham Law Review, issue December 2018. Professor Allen, can you join us on stage? That sounds great. Let's see if we can get it out. The Patricia and Dan Merle Professionalism and Ethics Teaching Award was established last year in 2018. This year's winner of the Patricia and Dan Merle Ethics and Professionalism Teaching Award is Professor Ernie Lidge. Now I'm pleased to introduce Lauren Hutton, President of the Student Bar Association, who will make brief remarks and introduce the recipients of the Professor and Adjunct of the Year awards. Lauren is a native Memphian who received her undergraduate degree from UT Knoxville. Please join me in welcoming Lauren.
Hello, I had the pleasure of serving as the Student Bar Association President and tracking down all of the 3Ls to have them vote for our Professor and Adjunct of the Year. So, without further ado, our Professor of the Year goes to Professor Ralph Brazier. Professor Brazier was the 1L property teacher and taught Section 12 both semesters. He also taught decedents 3. We had an opportunity to take 3 times, and elder law. So most of us have taken him at some point, even if we weren't 11ers. And we all enjoy Professor Bradsher's classes, even though they're some of the hardest subjects in the law school. They are enjoyable to attend because he is outlandish, as I'm sure you will hear from a couple of his remarks right now.
Outlandish. Okay. Well, I have to apologize because I got a little carried away when I wrote this speech, and it's going to go a little long, just what you want to hear at graduation. I've already warned the faculty, and I've told them that they're free to shop online and to check their emails, and the rest of you should feel the same. Thank you, members of the class of 2019, for this undeserved but greatly appreciated honor. Thank you, Lauren. I was going to say for your kind introduction, but thank you for your introduction. And thank you for doing such an outstanding job as president of SBA this year. Thank you, Charlie, Caitlin, Scott, and Paige. That rendition of the Star Spangled Banner was amazing. It was inspiring. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. And while I'm thanking folks, Will, thank you for making it to graduation on time. I was worried. Brandy and Alyssa, thank you for sitting on the front row in every course that you took with me, even though you knew that when I get excited in class, I often spit when I speak. And you often received a little shower. Whitney R., thank you for allowing us to have graduation on your birthday. We will sing to you later. Paige, Lauren, and Trevor, thank you for bidding enough on me at the faculty auction to ensure that I would not sell for an all-time record low amount. Campbell, thank you for portraying me multiple times in Flaw Review and never being too terribly vicious. You used my class opening trademark question, which I'll come back to, very effectively. I wasn't surprised. I believe this is the only question I ever posed that you didn't ask me to repeat or rephrase. Yes, I am reading these words to you because sadly, unlike Alan and Zane, I have no talent for public speaking. Also sadly, the thoughts I have jotted down here have no coherent theme, so essentially this is like one of my classes in condensed form. As Hayden once said of my property lecture, that's all well and good, but what does it mean? Hayden, I'm sorry that 3 years later you're still waiting for an answer. Class of 2019, for 3 years I have begged you to share with me your riveting revelations, your scintillating stories, your titillating tales. By and large, however, you have been a tight-lipped group. You never fully shared the lowdown with me. But now the tables are turned, and I'm going to share with you and with your loved ones some of the lowdown I have independently gleaned about you. Fear not, my observations are not criticisms, but rather commendations. First, and you can count along with me on your fingers if you're mathematically challenged, as I am. Class of 2019, I would like to commend you for always smelling good. This is my way of saying that, class of 2019, you did not stink. Years ago, I taught a class of students that did stink. By mid-semester, the odor in the classroom was so bad that students were bringing cans of air freshener to class and spraying it around the room during my lectures. With great regret, ultimately I had to send emails to certain students saying, "Please do not return to class until you have bathed." So class of 2019, I say kudos to you. I have never had to send even a single one of you an email asking you to bathe. Second, class of 2019, I commend you on your choice of loved ones. They've done a wonderful job molding you into the fine folks you are today. And I also thank them for sharing you with us over the last 3 years. Loved ones, if you have any doubts about your importance in the lives of these students, let me share this. In my elder law course, I asked the students to write their own eulogies, hoping this somewhat morbid assignment will help the students better imagine their own old age and the concerns of their future elderly clients. In their eulogies, the most common thread I see is a sense of gratitude. Gratitude to you, their loved ones. Not only because you taught them to smell good, for which the faculty and I thank you, but also because you have enriched their lives in countless ways. Third, I commend you, class of 2019, for your dedication to your studies. Over the past 3 years, some of you had to fight serious health concerns. Some of you were caregivers to your children and other loved ones. Some of you suffered the loss of loved ones. Yet through everything, you all diligently persevered and persisted with your legal studies. And here, I would like to mention in particular one of your classmates who was taken from us far too soon. I had the privilege of teaching Richard in one of my courses. Richard, know that we are missing you especially today, and we are grateful for the many happy memories you left us. Fourth, I know you expect the speaker to make 3 points and sit down, but I was always taught you should try to exceed expectations. Fourth, I commend you in advance, class of 2019, for your unrelenting study over the next few weeks as you prepare for the bar exam. Have fun studying property, and remember Professor Kill and me with kindness. If you happen to run into an unborn widow or a fertile octogenarian, you'll know what to do with them. Don't be disrespectful. There's no need to join the thousands of law students who have been cursing at them for hundreds of years. If a precocious toddler comes your way, give him some prophylactic advice, but never forget what you learned in the infamous double dating hypothetical from Decedent's Estates. Yeah, sometimes prophylactic measures work, and sometimes not so much. Always be on the lookout for the naughtiest of property offenders, the bare naked trespasser. When you deal with him, act charitably. Give him some clothes, but only after you've ejected him from the property before he can claim adverse possession. Never, ever let a naked trespasser touch Evan. And my last word for your property studies, remember that if your client buys a home in a residential subdivision with extensive restrictive covenants, the Architectural Control Committee will be able to dictate not only the color of that home, but also, as the English Court of Chancery pointed out in 1848, even the nature and size of erections on the property, in the sense of buildings and structures, of course. In the future, don't hesitate to drop by the law school. I'll be older, I'll be fatter, but you'll recognize me from the ink-stained, baggy, wrinkled khakis and the blue Oxford cloth shirt, unless it's Insane Delusion Day in Decedent's Estates, in which case I'll be running around the law school teaching my classes in my pajamas and bathrobe. Finally, yeah, the word you're waiting to hear, finally, I'd like to close with 6 lines from a graduation song. I am fully aware that the lyrics are sappy. but still they express what I feel for you. Now, I do apologize in advance, Professor Romance, if you find yourself throwing up a little bit in your mouth as I read these words that are excessively sentimental. Here we go. What I wish for you today and all life through is only everything that's fair and fine and true. As you forge your path, use wisely what you know. Let your gifts shine brightly wherever you may go. A life that's blessed with all the best. This is what I wish for you. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2019.
This year's Adjunct of the Year award goes to Professor Sean Mccarver. Mr. Mccarver is a career law clerk for Chief Judge Thomas Anderson of the U.S. District Court. He gives his time every week to co-professor the externship program, and of our 88 graduates, we have had 68 of us have done externships, some twice, and it is a great experience. Get that practical learning that Danny Shafson really pushes, and Professor Mccarver has dedicated his time and is very deserving of this award, and it is my honor to present it to him today.
Thank you, Lauren, and congratulations to Professor Bradsher and Mr. Mccarver. It is now my privilege to introduce our commencement speaker, the Honorable Pamela L. Reeves. Judge Reeves was nominated by President Barack Obama to serve as district judge for the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee. She was confirmed by the Senate by a vote of 99-0, and on March 10, 2014, she was sworn in as the first woman on the Eastern District of Tennessee. Judge Reeves earned her BA and her JD from the University of Tennessee. Prior to her appointment to the federal bench, she practiced law and mediated cases in Knoxville with the law firm of Reeves, Herbert, and Anderson. Judge Reeves has been active in many bar and community leadership positions throughout her career, with service as president of the Tennessee Bar Association, president of the American College of Civil Trial Mediators, and chair of the Knox County Election Commission. For 15 years, she wrote a monthly column on legal issues for the Knoxville News Sentinel. Judge Reeves recently was named Chief Judge of the Eastern District of Tennessee, the first woman to hold that position in the court's 222-year history. Her remarkable career stands as an inspiration to us all. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Pamela L. Reeves.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is it's just wrong to have to try to follow Professor Frazier. That is just not fair. Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here today, and Dean, thank you for that lovely introduction. Before I start my prepared remarks, I'm going to take a moment, especially since tomorrow is Mother's Day, to do a shout out for all the moms, dads, partners, family members, and friends who have supported you all throughout your entire career. So if you will join me in showing a round of applause and giving your appreciation. This hood and I may soon part ways here too. You can imagine I frequently get invited to give speeches at these types of events. And the bad part is nobody ever tells you what you should talk about. And it's hard sometimes to come up with something that you feel is worthwhile. So I have a son who's a recent law school graduate, and I asked him, what should I talk about? He said, Mom, it doesn't matter. Just be short and be funny. Clearly, he does not know federal judges. We do not do well in any of those categories. So he was no help. So I sat down and tried to figure out if I could go back in time, what would I have liked to have known when I graduated from law school? And doing that, I had the horrible realization that it has been exactly 40 years since I sat on your side of this platform for my law school graduation. Now, the first thing that I wondered is how on earth could that many years go by that quickly? And then it did dawn on me that 1979 was a pretty different world than the world that you all are graduating into. First, I understand that this was the year of the woman at the University of Memphis Law School, and Lauren, I congratulate you. That was not accurate when I graduated from law school in 1979. Now, in fairness, we did have about 20% of our class females, so that was a positive thing. But let me just tell you, the world that we were graduating into was dominated by old white men. Now, I have nothing against old white men. In fact, there's one back there on the third row that I'm real fond of, and that's my husband. But it was definitely a different world. All of the justices on the U.S. Supreme Court and on the Tennessee Supreme Court were males. All of the federal judges in the state of Tennessee were males. It would not be until 1983, 5 years after I graduated, before President Reagan nominated Julia Gibbons to be the first woman to serve as a federal district judge in the state of Tennessee. It would be 1995 before Judge Bernice Donnell, a University of Memphis law graduate I might mention, was appointed by President Clinton as the first and only female of color to serve as a district judge in the state of Tennessee. Now, fortunately, I'm pleased today to be able to report that they are both serving on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, where 6 of the 16 active judges are now female. So we have made some progress. Now, female law students graduating in 1979 could look forward to a very different work environment. #MeToo was not a thing back then, in part because there were only a very few creative lawyers who were beginning to take the position in the lower courts that women should be expected or should be allowed to work in an environment where sexual favors were not expected or demanded. The U.S. Supreme Court didn't even address that issue until 1986, when it finally held that a hostile working environment could be a violation of Title VII. Now, I can speak from my own personal experience, and most of my friends who were in that class of 79, that we all had our share of #MeToo moments, and it was a little hard to face that when you didn't have any law anywhere to support you. 1979 was also a very different time for the members of the LGBTQ community, and the concept of marriage equality was basically just a figment of somebody's imagination back then. I now know that there were a number of gay and lesbian students in my law school class, but we didn't know it at the time. I feel certain that members of this class who are graduating today have been able to speak out and be active in discussing their sexuality in ways that the students in the class of 79 could not even have begun to imagine. And thanks to lawyers like Professor Hillman, the concept of marriage equality is now the law as opposed to a figment of somebody's imagination. Now, sadly, there have been other areas of our life that have been threatened in recent years in ways that none of us back in 1979 would have ever thought would happen again. Racism, unfortunately, in all of its ugly forms, has become more visible and threatening, in part because the internet lets people express those horrible thoughts without any significant consequences. Lawyers and our courts are having to once again discuss and address discrimination, not just in the workplace, but with regard to voting rights and in many other areas of the law. Now, open discrimination against religious groups and ethnic groups has actually been proposed by government officials as a means to combat terrorism and to, once again, our courts have had to step in to protect the rights of the individuals that are being threatened on a regular basis. Immigration issues of all kinds now dominate courts across the country. So, we have made progress, but the thing I want you to understand is that when you look at all of these areas of the law, you see the incredibly important role of the judicial system and the brave and often creative lawyers who are part of this process. And so now you understand that in reality, being a lawyer means you have the potential to become a very powerful person in your community and in your world. How do you best position yourself to be a part of this incredibly important legal system? Well, clearly, you have the skills and the ability, or you wouldn't be here today. So I'm going to just talk about a couple of things that might help you as time goes on. First, understand that a knowledge of the black letter law is not all it takes to be a good lawyer. Basic life skills, such as being able to maintain confidentiality, being punctual, being able to honor commitments, being able to demonstrate integrity and trustworthiness, and just being able to treat people with courtesy and respect are often just as important as knowing the law. Second, realize that things change every day. Part of the reason that things change so rapidly is because of technology, and it plays an important role in the practice of law. The Selectric typewriters and the dictating machines we used to use when I first became a lawyer, they're gone, long gone. And it used to be that a computer took up a whole room in our little offices. Now, they fit in your pocket or in your purse. Keep up to date on technology as it develops. If you don't, you may be the lawyer who thought you had properly, completely redacted the documents that you were filing in court, only to find out that the entire world is reading those documents and it's on the front page of the New York Times. Now, substantive law is going to change constantly too, because we always have legislators and congresspeople who feel like they can do better than the rest of us. And the courts routinely make changes as well. But don't lose sight of the fact that other things are changing all around you all the time. I mean, whoever thought that Sears or Bed Bath & Beyond would be talking about bankruptcy? E-discovery, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity weren't even words when I graduated from law school. And today, a great many lawyers' lives and their livelihoods depend on understanding and knowing about these concepts. Even as we sit here today, there are lawyers somewhere who are making a ton of money figuring out how Amazon drones can deliver toilet paper to your house next week, and how autonomous tractor trailers can head down I-40 sooner rather than later. So start getting in the habit of keeping up to date, not just with the legal concepts, but on what's happening in the world outside you. You want to become the go-to person when those changes happen. So always be on the lookout for ways to think outside the box. The reality is, nobody in this room can tell you what your world is going to look like 40 years from now. Some of you may recall that even Professor Dumbledore once admitted the consequences of our actions are always so complicated, so diverse, that predicting the future is very difficult business indeed. All I can tell you is that nothing will stay the same. Your personal lives will change, your professional lives will change, and the world you live in will change. On the other hand, you of all people should never be afraid of change. Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor several thousand years ago, said it much better than I could when he said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." So you, of all of your peers, are going to be in a much better position to deal with the changes that happen over your lifetime. Now, to be able to explain my last piece of advice to you, I'm going to have to tell you a little story. I have to tell you about a little girl who was born and raised in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. Until she was 12, she lived in a small, very rundown house that had no running water and no indoor plumbing. No one in her family had ever gone to college. Her mom had never worked outside the home, but she worked really hard inside the home to feed and clothe 4 little girls. She raised a garden, she canned vegetables, she cooked 3 meals a day on a wood stove. In the winter, she carried coal in to heat the house. The little girl's dad raised tobacco and worked at any other job he could find to support his family. Nothing about this little girl's past would make you believe that someday she would stand in front of you as the Chief District Judge for the Eastern District of Tennessee. Because yes, that was me. And I only tell you this story not in any way to make you think I regret it, because I loved growing up there. But I tell you this because none of you should ever, ever let your past get in the way of your future. Don't ever feel that you are less capable or less likely to be able to achieve than your colleagues, even if they came from better or possibly different circumstances. The mere fact that you are here today, graduating from the University of Memphis Law School, is proof that you can do anything you set your mind to. Now, you'll have to work hard, you'll have to be dedicated, but none of that will hurt you. Finally, since I was coming to Memphis, I wanted to end with something that might relate to you all who have now made Memphis a part of your life forever. And it happened that I recently read a biography of Sam Phillips. Now, in case you don't know, Sam Phillips was the legendary music producer who started Sun Records here in Memphis, and he launched the careers of, a few people like Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Ike Turner, Johnny Cash, Howlin' Wolf, Carl Perkins, and Roy Orbison, just to name a few of those people. Phillips summed up his life philosophy pretty simply. He said, "Look, prepare yourself, and if the best comes, fine. If it doesn't, don't be disappointed. Just make sure wherever you go, if you see that you can go no further, make sure you were satisfied up to that point." So to all of you graduating today, congratulations, good luck, and I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the next 40 years.
Thank you, Judge Reeves, for your inspirational words. To memorialize this occasion, I would like to present you with a small gift on behalf of the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law and especially the graduating class.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before Dr. Rudd confers your degrees, I want to take a few moments to reflect on the class of 2019. 3 years ago, you arrived at the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law, committed to putting in the hard work needed to join a profession that would enable you to advocate for others and effect positive change. You likely realized quickly just how much effort was required to meet the high standards set by your professors. You learned what every law student figures out fairly early on: legal methods is no joke. The Memphis Law faculty challenged you for better research, deeper analysis, and exacting writing. We have worked very hard to prepare you for the unforgiving demands of your clients, judges, and partners. We have endeavored to teach and model the professionalism we are confident you will exercise in your practice. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to report that these students have satisfied the very high standards of the School of Law, and the fact that they are graduating today is proof not only of their high aptitude, but also of their hard work, their perseverance, and their commitment to improving society. It is evidence of their ability and fitness to fulfill the heavy obligations that the legal profession places on its members, and of their capacity to serve their clients, their communities, and the public with honor and distinction. Members of the class of 2019, congratulations. The graduates here have made great sacrifices to arrive at this day, but they did not do so alone. Their families and friends, parents, grandparents, children, siblings, other relatives, loved ones, and friends have provided material, moral, and emotional support during their years in law school. On behalf of the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law and the University of Memphis, I would like to express our deep gratitude to all the families and friends of our soon-to-be graduates, those who could be with us today and those who could not. They have much to be proud of. To the class of 2019, you have gained tremendous knowledge and developed the skills necessary to serve the legal community and society at large. You are now empowered to live out the dreams that drew you to law school initially. You hold the tools necessary to serve those in society who seek your assistance to achieve justice. It is a tremendous responsibility, and I hope it will always inspire you to give back to those who need your help. We are proud of you. Congratulations to each and every one of you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. David Rudd, President of the University of Memphis. Dr. Rudd will confer the Juris Doctor degree on each of the graduates. Afterwards, Associate Dean Jody Wilson and Professor Bradsher will assist in placing the academic hoods on each graduate as Ed Brundick, President of the Law Alumni Board, will introduce the graduates. After our graduates have been hooded, Richard Urban's family will come forward to receive his posthumous degree and health law certificate.
Let me ask all of the graduates of the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law, please stand. Ladies and gentlemen of the graduating class of the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law of the University of Memphis, with the approval of the faculty of the School of Law and upon certification that you have fulfilled all of the requirements for graduation, and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents as President of the University of Memphis, I am pleased to confer the Juris Doctor degree upon you and declare that you are now entitled to all rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereunto. We take great pleasure in presenting you with the academic hood for the Juris Doctorate as evidence of your accomplishments. You may be seated.
Andrew Wells Alexander. Alexandria Brooke Allen. Hawk Allen. Charles T. Argana. Sarah Vivian Belchick. Alex S. Blonder. Lindsay C. Boatner. Mary Lauren Babango Stewart, hooded by her father, John Babango, class of 1983, and her mother, Lisa Babango, also class of 1983. Stephen Russell Bourne. Brandy L. Boyd. Courtney Janelle Boykin. Matthew Brad Bradsher. Jonathan David Burnley. Jocelyn Suyapa Bustio. Chelsea Elizabeth Caldwell. John Jack W. Campbell, Jr., hooded by his father, the Honorable John W. Campbell, Sr., also class of 1983. Hayden Dean Carlson. Alexandra T. Chun. Zachary Alexander Coleman. Mary Caitlin Cornett. Jackson N. Craig. Kayla Cullum. Michelle Lynn D'Amico. Amy Harper Deems. Preston Reed Dennis. Ryan Theodore Dyke. Harrison M. Donahoe. Scarlett Escobar. Alexandra Michelle Francis. Roberto Garcia. Sheila A. Garcia. Jessica Lee Gavin. Nicholas Hamilton Gilder. Annabelle Pauline Harris. Arthur Miles Headley. Zane S. Heller. Jocelyn Annette Hayward. Matthew C. Huff. Jonathan Tyler Hutton. Lauren E. Hutton. Clayton P. Jackson. Lewis Matthews Geel. Tanisha L. Johnson. Wait for the picture. Corrine Alexandria Jones. Kelsey E. Keefe. Megan Elizabeth Keene. Thomas P. Coble. Campbell Lewis. Matt Keegan Martin Lightfoot. Allie Kristen Lynn Kirsten. My apologies, it's Allie Kirsten Lynn. Dahlia Maita. Alyssa H. Maloney, hooded by her husband, Larry James Peter II, class of 2018. Scott G. Marston. B. Allen Matthews. Zachary D. Mead. Meg, Megan Denise Moody, hooded by her uncle Steve Barlow, class of 2004, and classmate of mine. Jake Ryan Morris. Logan M. Mustaine. Waleed Bahad Nasser. Sean Patrick O'Brien. Avery H. Oakes. Tammy Wells Oliver, hooded by her nephew, Zachary Jordan, class of 2018. Gregory Tucker Osborne. Angela Pegram Polk. Hallie Hicks Priester. William Thomas Rancic. Jordan T. Richardson, hooded by his uncle John Cannon, class of 1974. James Andrew Roach. Wait for the last photograph. Whitney Lee Robinson. Colton L. Sadler. Trevor R. Schrader. Mackenzie C. Seeley. Hunter Storm Shepard. Bentley Camille Smith. Tiffany Page Smith. Whitney Carlson Snow. Kyle J. Sweatman. Norhan Al-Husseini Taoubi. Jordan Tanner Tippins. You got a card? This one? Okay. Patrick Treadwell. Naira Yamarov. Richard Charles Vaughn. Soraya Anita Vinson. William Francis Walsh IV. David F. Ward. Johnny Wayne Warren II. Joshua Warren. And Patrick D. Wright. terribly sorry, most oversight on my part. Richard Urban, Richard's diploma and health law certificate are being posthumously presented to his parents, Richard and Christina Urban, and his sister, Dr. Kimberly Urban.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2019 graduating class of the University of Memphis Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law. Congratulations, graduates. You can now switch your tassels to the other side of your caps. And special thanks to Mr. Brundick, who has been an enthusiastic, unflagging, and extremely effective advocate for our law school for many years. We are very grateful for his service and the support of the Law Alumni Chapter. The class of 2019 has selected Matthew Bradsher to address you all today. Please join me in welcoming your classmate, Mr. Bradsher, to the podium.
A lot of good clapping. Thank you, everyone. I've never been more nervous for anything in my life. There are more people here than there should be at a graduation for just this few people. I guess I should start the speech right? Graduates, distinguished faculty and staff, family, friends, and people who mistakenly thought Hamilton was opening this weekend. This has been a confusing night for you guys, I'm sure. I got this speech from Barbary, so you guys will have to let me know if you've heard it before. It's an honor to be part of this celebration, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all today. It's a pleasure to share in this experience and in the emotions here. You learn a lot about your classmates during graduation is what I just figured out. Do you guys know that Hunter's middle name was Storm? If I knew you could make up a name for the card, I would have picked something different. It's a little ironic that I was chosen to be the class speaker. Let me tell you why. Your first year of law school, you do a thing called the freshman moot court competition. It is a competition where if you're a good speaker, you do well in it. If you're a bad speaker, you don't. I was the first person eliminated from the freshman moot court competition. Someone could make an argument that I'm the last person who should be speaking at graduation. I say someone should make the argument because, like I said, I was the first person eliminated in the freshman moot court competition. It wouldn't be me that can make that argument. What can I say, man? Worst to first. Here I am. When I was 22 years old, I had the opportunity to attend my sister Sarah's high school graduation. She's here with us today. I still remember the feelings that I had at this graduation. I was bored. I was uncomfortable. I was a little bit angry that my sister's English teacher had let her pass the class. And I'm pretty sure we ducked out right after her name was called. And our last name starts with a B. So that night I went home and I wrote in my journal. And that's right. I kept a journal at the time. I was 22 years old and I was convinced that my progeny would care what I thought about things. I'm now 28 years old with no progeny, and I don't even care what I thought about things. Anyway, in my journal I wrote, if I ever have children, I pray that none of them graduate high school. Because I never want to sit through something like that again. Now here I am today as the one thing standing between this graduation ending, right? So I promised to keep my remarks brief so that no teens in the audience go home and write angsty journal entries. My first semester of law school, I had the opportunity to attend a lunch thing. It was a fun lunch thing. There's lots of lunches at the law school. And it was kind of a mixture. It was practicing attorneys. It was people that were there going to school. And I was surprised and pleased at the number of practicing attorneys who stood up and told us that they met their spouse in law school. I remember thinking, here we go. I'm going to like law school. All I have to say about that is we must do things differently now. Or I took the wrong classes. Because I'm leaving this place just as single as when I started. I would like to make a quick remark about the outfits we get to wear tonight. These are fun, right? These are cool things. A lot of people don't know this. This is behind the scenes inside baseball for you. We actually pay $30 to wear the puffy hats. The school would pay for us to wear like the regular hats, that you see people wear. But we decided that we want to pay to like distinguish ourselves from regular graduates. I think this is kind of interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, if someone saw us out on the street right now, they would not know that we were a graduate of anything. We look like we escaped from Hogwarts or something like that. The other thing that I think is a little funny that we pay money to wear these hats to show people what we've accomplished is when you've done something good in life, they kind of, people try to put you in check. They say, don't let it go to your head. We have literally paid money to let this go to our heads. To the families, a lot of you are probably, feels like this time has flown by. It feels like it was just yesterday that your graduate was tottering off to law school for the first day. I can assure you as a graduate that it felt like an eternity for us. Now, I know some people were like, well, maybe he'll just get up there and kind of riff for a few, 5 to 7 minutes. That's how long I'm supposed to speak for. So if somebody's keeping time, that'd be great. But they were like, maybe he'll get up there and riff for 5 to 7 minutes. But that's not what a graduation speech is. You have to have a theme. So in deciding on a theme, I looked back at the graduation speeches that I'd seen before. And in 2010, Jared Sturgill was the salutatorian at Bolton High School. I thought he gave a great speech. Jared was kind of the opposite of me. He was attractive and he was intelligent. He had done well in school. But he gave a speech based on the book, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, right? And so I was like, maybe I could do a little fun thing with that. Everything I need to know about being an attorney, I learned in my first year of law school. So the things you learn in kindergarten are don't run with scissors, be kind to people, don't eat glue. First year of law school, you learn some different things. And so in torts, I learned that you should always be reasonable, but nobody really is. In property, I learned that life is like a bundle of sticks. You never know what you're going to get, unless you're good at conveyances. Then you're going to get an A. In criminal law, I learned that you're only as strong as the upperclassman's outline that we got your hands on. Nothing is more discouraging than sitting down to study for an exam and realizing you ended up with a dumb kid's outline. It's the most discouraging when you look at it and realize it's your own. In contracts, I learned that it depends. But I also learned that sometimes not even God will save you if you didn't read the Plowman versus Indian Refinery case. I was taught by legal methods that passive voice is bad, and that I use a lot of it. In civil procedure, I had that with Dean Shafson. I learned that the Erie Doctrine is a fundamental legal doctrine that mandates that a federal court must apply state substantive law in diversity jurisdiction cases. I had to Google that. So in the end, as you face challenges in your career, I think if you look back to your 1L year, you can realize you learned a lot of the things that you need to know to overcome those challenges. I just want to maybe give some actual advice from things I've heard in my life. Now, I'm not in a position to give advice. I'm kind of on the same level as all of you. So this is a little advice I received from my father. I guess we would call it advice. So my dad is a pretty normal guy, but sometimes he'll do something weird, something pretty off-brand for him. So one day, years ago, he came home with a quote, and he just hung it up right by the door. And he was just like, we're going to see this every time we leave our house, and it's going to govern the way we live our lives. And so the quote that he brought home was, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. The quote by our door is attributed to Mark Twain. But using the research skills that I obtained in law school, I found out that my dad was punked. This was not a Mark Twain quote. In fact, the quote belongs to a woman named Sarah Frances Brown. And if you Google her, you'll find out that Sarah Frances Brown's claim to fame is that she was the mother of H. Jackson Brown. I know, we still don't know who that is, right? This was a double Google search project. So H. Jackson Brown is an author who just happened to be less famous than Mark Twain, right? So somebody just grabbed an H. Jackson Brown quote, put it in a frame, and sold it to my dad and said it was from Mark Twain. Just because Mark Twain didn't say it doesn't make it bad advice. It doesn't mean you shouldn't hang it up by the doors in your home. And honestly, that's kind of the advice that I would hope that you all take away today. Take risks, set goals, explore, dream, discover. And if the law career doesn't work out for you, you could always make a living selling fake Mark Twain quotes to guys like my dad. In closing, I would ask the graduates to join me in a round of applause for the family members and faculty to help them reach this milestone. Let's do some clapping for them. And to those in the audience who are here to honor these fine graduates, please join me in saluting our 2019 graduates of the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And now back to our graduates. This is your day. For most of you, this is the last day of your school life after 2 decades or more years of schooling. This is truly a day of tremendous accomplishment, but all of us assembled here today, your teachers, your families, and your friends, know that many more even greater accomplishments are sure to follow. Congratulations again. As we send you off, we want to remind you that your relationship with the law school and the university does not end today. You will be University of Memphis alumni forever, and your accomplishments will bring honor to your law school and pride to our students, alumni, and faculty. Stay in touch. In turn, we will stay in touch with you and do our best to help and guide you whenever we can throughout your careers. Let me conclude this evening by expressing my great appreciation for some key members of our staff, in particular Assistant Dean Meredith Aiden, who organized today's events. I also want to thank Carol Landers, Abby Gardner, Archie Shelton, Steve Richardson, Stephanie Hope, and all our student volunteers who assisted off stage in these commencement ceremonies. Also, thank you again to the Bluff City String Quartet for the music they provided for today's ceremony. Please join me in giving all of them a round of applause. I ask that you remain seated during the recessional as the platform party, the faculty, and the graduates exit. Thank you, good evening, and to all the mothers with us here this evening, an early Happy Mother's Day.